So, everyone has started finding the Archon Archetype in Remnant 2, and I'm going to be doing a video on exactly how you unlock it after spending hours and hours and hours doing it myself. I will put chapters in the description, like you'll see them on the scrub bar for the video, because I'm going to be explaining, like with an image in the background, I'll be explaining how you get every single item that you need in order to do this. But a couple of things to note is, first, you are going to have to complete the entire campaign of the game. And second, even after you've done that, I believe it's much more common on console, but it does happen on PC as well, there can possibly be a bug that's going to stop you being able to do this. And basically, with that, like there's an armor set, a specific one that you need to get this done. And Lewis was unable to purchase this. I've seen a lot of players on console unable to purchase this armor set. But if you are playing in a group, only one person needs to be wearing the full outfit in order to access the door so that you can get your hands on the archetype. Once you've picked up the item for the archetype, everyone in that game session gets it. So maybe try jumping into Discords, like do some other things to look for a group, and hopefully you can find some players that can help you out if you do get stuck. Because there is a bug, a really annoying one, where you can't buy the required armor. And I just wanted to make that clear before we get into this, because there are a couple of items that might bug out or they might not show up straight away. I'm going to explain everything that you need to know for this. So starting off, as I said, you will need to have completed the entire campaign. Once you take down the final boss of the game, you're going to be given something called the Broken Compass. You then take that to Wallace back in Ward 13, and he is going to turn that into the Golden Compass and give you, like that item is basically used so that you unlock the Explorer Archetype. And with that Explorer Archetype, you need to get it to level 10. The Explorer has to be level 10, because you need to use the Treasure Hunter skill. The final skill you unlock for it at level 10 is required. And that is where the bug comes into play, because you need the Realmwalker Armor Set, which is the Explorer's armor set. And in order to grab this, if it's available for you, you have to go and see Whispers, who is the armor vendor in Ward 13. So from the World Stone, you head to, like, say you come out of the section where you've seen Ava or Riggs and you've done something with your weapons or your weapon mods. You come out, and at the World Stone, you do it right. You've got all the vendors in that sort of line. If you look on the right-hand side, your first vendor is Cass. And then, like, she's going to sell you iron and stuff. And then just beyond her, there's another little vendor called Whispers who sells you armor sets. It's going to be quite expensive. I think it's like the couple of thousand scrap is going to cost you to get the armor if it's there. But there is a bug that's happening across all platforms where there is a possibility that this armor is not available. And it actually happened to me with the Archon. I unlocked the archetype, gone back to Whispers, and I cannot actually purchase the Archon armor. So if that does happen, and you can't find anyone to join games with or anything like that, you will have to restart the entire campaign all over again using the Explorer as your main archetype so that you have access to that armor. It's an absolute bummer. I really hope the developers get it fixed, because it shouldn't be working like that. Some people can buy the armor, some people can't. I was lucky enough, like I'm only able to make this video because I was able to purchase that armor. But yes, for the armor, you're going to need the entire Realmwalker set. Then for your relic, you are going to need the Void Heart. And this one, there's a lot of confusion around it, because some people say you have to wait 12 hours real time, some people say you have to wait 48, some people say 72. You do not have to wait any amount of time, because you can trick this game. I believe you can do it on console, but you can definitely do it on PC. I'm pretty sure you will be able to do it on your console as well. But basically, what you have to do with the Void Heart is you are going to have to be in the Rood, and you're going to have to finish the Seeker's Keys campaign quest. So assuming you've done, like, the whole campaign, go into adventure mode and keep rolling the Narude world until you get the Seeker's Keys campaign. You'll know exactly when you've got it, because the first, like, quest item you find is going to be one of the Seeker's Keys. Then what you have to do is actually carry on through Narude, basically complete that adventure mode, because you've got to get to the final boss of Narude. You're going to need 3 Seeker's Keys, and they're all found in the same way. There's basically what looks like a staircase, like some weird sort of structure that goes up a hill. It does open up into a staircase. You'll get the quest item at the very top. You need to get 3 of these Seeker's Keys, and they all spawn in, like, basically the same looking part of the game. So You come up a lift, there's going to be like the staircase, a Seeker key is going to be up there. You carry on with Nerud, you do another couple of dungeons or whatever, you come out of one of the dungeons, up the lift, there's going to be exactly the same layout there again, and you need to get 3 Seeker's keys. You cannot do it with any less. And at first I thought, okay, there's a bug in the game, it's duplicating this quest item. Then I realized you do actually need 3 of them. Once you have done that, you go and speak to the custodian, the NPC, and you're going to basically go to this tower behind Ascension Spire. Is like one of the biggest towers in the area. You cannot miss it. It's got a massive blue light in front of it. You go up to the door, you put the Seeker's keys in, it unlocks the main boss fight, and that boss fight is with an enemy called Shahala, the Spectral Guardian of Nerud. Be careful with this. If you have previously picked up the override pin, do not use it in the console. If you use that override pin, it basically changes the boss to the alternate boss version, and you will not be able to do this. You'll have to re-roll Nerud all over again. We never had the override pin, so there was no way of us messing this up. But if you do have the override pin, do not interact with anything around that boss fight besides just taking down the boss as is. And then once you have taken down that boss, it will tell you, it won't tell you, but wikis and stuff will say you have to wait 12 hours in real life time in order to gain access to a secret area called Ellipsis Tora. You do not have to wait any time whatsoever. If you go to your settings, I went to the adjust date and time settings on my PC, and you forward time by, I'm going to say about 26 hours. I tried it for just over 12, it did not work. So I changed it an extra day forward, and it worked. So I believe it is 24 hours you're supposed to wait, but you can change the date and time. So basically I was doing this on the 29th of July. I actually had it set up for the afternoon on the 31st, so I was definitely clear. And basically, once you've changed the time, you forward, the major time go forward and the date and everything or whatever, you go back into the game. You don't have to close the game or anything like that. Stay in the game whilst you're doing it. But once you have pushed your time forward, you're going to travel from Nerud to Ward 13 to stay in Nerud before you're changing your time, as you're changing it or whatever. Travel to Ward 13, then go back to Nerud, and on your world map in the bottom right corner, you'll see a place called Ellipsis Tora. Make sure you have previously done everything you want to do in Nerud, because once you have gone to Ellipsis Tora, you cannot access any of Nerud again. You will have to re-roll the entire adventure. So if there's a dungeon you were finishing up, go and finish that first. But when you are ready, go to Ellipsis Tora, and you're going to see a purple glow in front of you. It's going to basically take you into this, completely different realm. It's going to look as though you're going to fall off the platform and die or whatever. You can just walk forward towards this purple glow that you see and pick up the Void Heart. But then after you have the Void Heart, you need to get Ford's Scattergun. So you need to go and roll Yesha. You are looking for an area called the Red Throne. There was a little bit of confusion with this one as well. I'll explain it as we go through it. But basically, with the Red Throne, you go to the very end and you go up to the throne and you start talking to the NPC. Be nice to her. If you're nasty to her, you're going to mess up this quest as well. So be nice to her. She's going to ask you to do her a favor. You're going to accept. You're going to say that you'll basically kill for her. She's going to ask you to go and kill the Abomination. And there is a boss in this game called the Abomination that's basically sat in an area called the Putrid Domain. The Putrid Domain is not in Yesha. The Putrid Domain can be found in Nerud, and obviously Adventure, you can only have one world. So what you're going to do instead is get the quest off her. She's going to ask you to kill the Abomination, and you're going to make your way through that role of Yesha until you come across a boss called the Corruptor. The Corruptor is the equivalent of the Abomination. So once you have killed the Corruptor, you go back to the woman at the Red Throne. I forget her name or whatever. But you go back to the Red Throne, and she is going to give you a ring called the Seal of the Empress. Now with that, you back out from the throne. So basically walk away from the throne. Keep going down to pretty much where you started, the outside courtyard where there's different directions you can go. And as you're making it from the throne, you then do a right. You turn right and you go into the library. You've possibly seen the library before. But go into the library, and on the floor in the middle of the room, there's going to be this stone sort of thing. It looks like a trapdoor. Stand on top of that and then equip the Seal of the Empress ring. That trapdoor is going to open up. You drop down, and inside there is Ford's Scattergun. And that's that part of the setup already sorted out. We've got a few items left, but the rest of them are relatively easy to get your hands on. So next up is the Labyrinth Staff, and in order to get this, you start off at the Fractured Ingress in the Labyrinth. if you've completed the campaign by this point, you've already unlocked the main portal and everything like that. So from Fractured Ingress, you go to the left-hand side. Like as you're walking towards that portal, you go left instead of into the portal. Follow that round to the right and you're going to see the changing portal. Instead of going through that changing portal, at least for the time being, you're going to go straight ahead, and when you get to the very end, there's going to be a ledge, and it looks like you're going to drop off onto this floor that's probably going to end up death. Well, that floor is going to actually turn into a proper floor for you to walk on. Carry on all the way along there to the very end. There will be a little section where it's going to look as though there's a massive gap that's too far to jump. Just wait for the portal to arrive. You can use the portal to jump across. Then go down, like just carry on following it through. There's going to be like a little narrow walkway. You go through there, drop down. There's going to be a boss there that you have to kill. Behind that boss is going to be the Labyrinth Staff. But still in the Labyrinth, you're going to have to get your hands on the Cube Gun. So with the Cube Gun, what you have to do is make progress. You've probably already got this at this point. But you're going to have to make enough progress through the Labyrinth in order to fight the Sentinel boss, the big giant cube. There's like a bunch of them in the Labyrinth. You have to shoot the white spots on them. Once you've killed that boss, you're going to get the crafting material so you can craft the Cube Gun. So get your hands on that nice and easy. Then we have the rings. You're going to have to get Zania's Malice. This can be found in Root Earth, so the final world you get to unlock in Ashen Wasteland. And I couldn't remember exactly where we found this, so I've looked on the wiki for it, and it says that it's found after the first checkpoint before the train cart horde fight. You've basically got to look for a hole in the wall above the first ramp down. So after your first checkpoint in Root Earth, Ashen Wasteland, look around for a ring. That's going to be Zania's Malice. Then we have the Black Cat Band, and in order to get your hands on this, you're just going to go to Reggie in Ward 13. And I've had a look for this one because apparently it doesn't show up straight away all the time. It says you're going to have to die a lot. So go and get yourself killed a bunch of times. Go back to Reggie in Ward 13. It's going to be opposite where Cass is. So basically you've got Mudtooth and Reggie next to each other. Like before that little ramp starts where everyone goes up to get up to the crane to see what is to get their archetypes. But go into Reggie's store, see what he's got available. He should have the Black Cat Band. If not, go and get yourself killed a few times, go back, and it should appear in that vendor. Next up, you're going to need Anastasia's Inspiration. In order to get this one, you're going to have to visit Whispers again. So the same vendor where you buy the armor from, the one that's next to Cass in Ward 13. And I've had a look for this one as well. It says you may need to visit Root Earth. So, if you're at that stage where you've completed the game and you're trying to do this Archon Archetype quest, you will have already visited Root Earth. So, go to Whispers in Ward 13. He should have Anastasia's Inspiration ring there. It's going to set you back 3,000 scrap. And then we have the Amber Moonstone, which is another ring, and it's actually the final one that we need. And this one can be bought from Cass, so as you come out of where Ava and Riggs are with the weapons and stuff in Ward 13, walk towards the World Stone, turn to the right. Cass is the first vendor on the right-hand side, but she is not guaranteed to have this ring there. She is on a 30-minute refresh timer with her, stock. So if you go and visit Cass and she doesn't have the Amber Moonstone, come out of there, go farm for some scrap, for some XP for your archetypes or whatever, then go back in half an hour and check because her stock will have changed and you will at some point find the Amber Moonstone in her stock. And then the last piece we need is the amulet before we get onto the secondary archetype that you need, and that is Leto's amulet. And in order to get this one, it shows up in Reggie's shop. But in order to buy it, you're going to have to do a lot of flopping. So basically, find the heaviest armor you can get. A lot of you have probably got Leto Mark II's armor. Or Leto's Mark II armor, whatever. So basically, equip the heaviest armor you've got to the point where you're fat rolling. And instead of fat rolling, you're going to be doing some sort of dolphin dive. It's known as a flop. You've got to do that, I think it's about 100 times. And then Leto's amulet will show up for purchase in Reggie's shop. So again, nice and easy. It's just a little bit time consuming, just flopping around everywhere, but you'll have a little bit of fun as you're building up the amount you've done it so that the amulet becomes purchasable. And there's been a little bit of confusion with Leto's amulet as well, because some people are saying you have to flop 100 times, some people are saying you have to flop 100 times in front of Reggie. Me and Pete basically just did a flop all the way around the dock in Ward 13, went back to Reggie, and the amulet was available. So it doesn't have to be in front of him, and I don't think it is necessarily 100 times. Maybe it is overall 100 times, but just basically flop around, keep checking the shop every now and then. Leto's Amulet will eventually become available. And then you are going to need the final part of this, you are going to need the Invader Archetype as well. This one does not have to be level 10. I've seen a lot of videos where people are saying you've got to be level 10 with it. You do not have to be at all. I got it done when I was level 8, but you basically, I think it's level 5. You have to have the second skill available called Wormhole. And in order to unlock the Invader, you don't have to go complete in the entire game, but you do have to get to Root Earth. Obviously, if you're making progress, you have to complete the game anyway to get the Explorer. But with the Invader, you have to have a melee weapon called the Dreamcatcher. If you do not have the Dreamcatcher, what you're going to have to do is keep re-rolling Loathsome. And in that world, you need to get the Sanatorium, or as I call it, the Mental Asylum. Once you have that asylum, complete all of the quests there, and in the basement, there is this strange web. You're going to make more progress throughout Loathsome until you get an item called the Soul Key Tribute. And as long as you've had the stone-carved dolls, you've got the Nightweaver statue, or whatever it's called, the Nightweaver stone doll, in your inventory, go to the basement of the asylum, use the Soul Key Tribute to go through the web into like an alternate realm or whatever, and then in the room next to it, you are going to find another web, and you can put the Nightweaver stone doll in there, and you can get the Dreamcatcher melee weapon. Then you need to make progress to Root Earth, and when you are at Root Earth in a place called the Corrupted Harbor, I've done a video for this archetype separately if you want to watch all the ins and outs of it. But basically, when you're in the Corrupted Harbor, you're going to come to this section where, like, basically you're inside this, like, cargo ship. There's a bunch of enemies you need to kill in what looks like a boss room. You kill all of those, you stay on the ground floor, there's a door at the back that's open. You go out there into this open area, and there's one of the big, like, walker enemies that you would have faced on your way to that part of the Root Earth world. So what you do is you clear the enemies out. You go up to, there's a purple item on this walker. You take that, kill the enemies and everything. Then you go up to it with the Dreamcatcher, and you use the Dreamcatcher weapon on this, like, stone, whatever you want to call it, this old enemy. And that's going to pull the Walker's Dream out of it. Then with the Walker's Dream, you quick slot it in your inventory, so put it into one of your quick slots, use it, and it's going to take you into a boss fight against a Walker called Bane. It's a very, very easy boss fight, but once you have taken down that boss, you will be given a wooden shiv. Then you go back to Ward 13, you go and visit Wallace, you get the Invader Archetype, and what you have to do at that point is get the Invader up to like level 5, I think it is, in order to get that second skill called Wormhole. And then not only do you have all the skills required, all the rings, you have absolutely everything you need to go and get this archetype. So a very, very long explanation. But as I said, there are chapters for it if you want to skip through this, like certain parts of it, if you only need certain items. And I feel I had to explain all of that because there is a lot of confusion around some of the items. And I spent, I think it was about 15 hours trying to sort out this archetype on its own. It was really, really stressful. But once you have every single item, you've equipped all of them, you'll know that you've done it right because you will have the corrupted sort of look to your character. So when you have all of it equipped, what you need to do is go to the Fractured Ingress in the Labyrinth. And again, instead of going straight through that portal in front of you, go round to the left and go to the Changing Portal. When you are there, you're going to wait until that portal shows you just a bunch of lines that look as though they lead to nothing. Wait a second, then drop through, and it's going to give you an invisible floor. Like that floor is going to form in front of you. You're able to walk up it in the labyrinth, and then take out the few enemies that are there, and then at the back end of it, on the right-hand side, you will see a portal. Go up to this portal, and as long as you have the corrupted thing around you, you've got all of the gear and everything equipped, you are going to be able to interact with this corrupted portal. And what you do is you put the biome portal key in there, you go in, and you are inside the back rooms. Now, there are 3 items in here, so I highly recommend you use your treasure hunter skill. Do not worry if you don't find all 3, because you can go back in there. Basically, you have 90 seconds to find as much stuff as you can. And there are 3 items overall. There is a ring, there is an amulet, which is a lanyard, and then there is also a crafting material called the Strange Box. But remember, you have 90 seconds to try and find all 3. If you don't find all 3, you come out, you can go back in there, you can try again. So you can take different routes and try and find the items. But overall, there are 3 items in there, and the main one, the one for the Archon Archetype, is the Strange Box. So if you're just after the Archetype, you don't care about the other items, grab that Strange Box, go back to Ward 13, go to Wallace, and Wallace is going to turn that Strange Box into your Archon Archetype. And that is the most secret archetype in Remnant 2. It took people days to figure it out, but it wasn't even figuring it out as in we're playing the game, making progress, finding out what you've got to do. It required data miners to figure out how to get it done. And I know a lot of people in the community, like, basically all came together and helped each other out to figure this stuff out. So massive credit to the whole community. But that was how to unlock, like, it's incredible for mods. If you're looking to use weapon mods, this is the archetype you want. It's going to take you a lot of time. It's going to cause a bit of stress, especially leveling up your archetypes. But once you've got it done, you've got that archetype, and it's so good for builds that are like based on using weapon mods. And that was exactly how to get the Archon Archetype in Remnant 2. And on that note, we are going to leave the video there. If you enjoyed it, leaving a like is appreciated. If you wish to support me further as a creator, there are links in the description. Let me know your thoughts about the video in the comments. And if you want to watch more, you can click the video on screen. All support on the channel is greatly appreciated, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.